Hi there, it's Karen with As You Wish Crochet Designs back again. This is video number 4 on the sock monkey dog and cat hat crochet pattern. And so these are the instructions online. Now you will have finished your line of foundation single crochet. That was where we left off from videos 2 and 3. There'd be 36 of them. I want to remind you that with foundation single crochet, when they come off the hook, the bottom looks like the top. Okay, so this piece here that looks like the top is actually the bottom. You've got to flip it, and you'll notice there's a bit of a difference. So basically this would be considered the chain, and this would be considered the first row of single crochet. And with foundation single crochet, it's all built into one. And so when you're finished it, you finish your line and then you bring it so that the top is up. The next thing you're going to do with this line of foundation single crochet is you're going to mark the first stitch, which is right here, and you're going to mark the last stitch, which is right here. So you're going to take your stitch marker and you're going to just put it through the top 2 loops, the V. Okay. And there you go. And then you're going to go to the last foundation single crochet, which is the V that is right beside the hook. And you're going to take this stitch marker and you are going to place it through that V at the top. Oh, sorry guys, I just have to get that, and I'll do it from this way so that I don't make shadows. Okay, and then you're going to put it through the top 2 loops there, and there it is. And then now your stitch is marked there and you're marked here. So now you have to bring your yarn together, and so you need to be very careful to keep the top up, the top of the stitch, and then bring the 2 ends together. So you can see they both have stitch markers in them, and you want the top of it. And then as you'll see, there is no twist in the circle. And then what you're going to do is you're going to join them. You're going to join the first stitch to the last. So the first thing you do is insert your hook through the 2 loops of the first stitch, and then you're going to keep your stitch marker and just kind of move it out of the way and insert your hook into the first stitch, or sorry, the last stitch of the foundation single crochet row. And then in order to join them, I like to put the yarn under, or sorry, the hook under the yarn, and then you got to make, sorry, I'm going to show you one thing here that I've done that you need to tighten up on. This loop here needs to be, you know, tighter, so that when you join it, the join is not too bulky. So you put your hook through there, again finding the last stitch, putting it through the 2 loops of that, putting your yarn around the hook, and then pull it through that first stitch and pull it through that second stitch, and then pull it right through the loop that was on the hook, and that joins it. And then you're going to just start a single row of crochet. Now before you do that, I want to show you something. So this is okay, this is your, it's a little tricky, you got to make sure you get it right. That is the top of the first stitch. You saw how it spun there? Okay, so you want to make sure your circle is not twisted. So you want to keep the top up, and then this one, you have the top naturally is up because it's where you've joined the yarn, right here. What I do to keep this even is I take this stitch marker from the first stitch and I just slide it through the base of the stitch we joined. Okay, just in there is fine. And now you'll see it can't twist. It just holds it in place. And also you got to remember, this is your first stitch right there. So that's still where the green marker is. It's just we've also slipped that marker into the last stitch, which is marked with blue, just to hold it in place. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just a row of single crochet. It'd be 36. So you're going to chain 1, then you're going to insert your hook into that first space the green marker's in, yarn through, 2 loops on hook, yarn over and pull through both loops. Insert hook into the next stitch, bring your yarn around the hook and pull it through. You'll have 2 loops on this hook, yarn over and pull through. Insert your hook into the next stitch, okay. Yarn over, pull through. You'll have 2 loops on the stitch and then pull through. So you insert hook, yarn over and pull through, 2 loops on the hook, pull through. Okay, so there's your next stitch right there. Insert hook into the top 2 loops, so the top 2 loops are on top. Bring your yarn over your hook and through, and then you'll have 2 loops on your hook. Bring your yarn over the hook and bring through. So we're going to just work around finishing this off. Anyone new to single crochet, this will be a good way to observe. Try to keep your stitches a uniform size. Moving along. Again, we're using the size 5mm hook. As you'll see, this was your first row of foundation single crochet. When we joined it together, it now has become what we call a round. We're working in the round. That's how hats are usually worked. And so the first thing we did, the foundation single crochet, formed both the chain and the single crochet, which I love. It has a nicer stretch. You don't worry about all the little tiny chains having to work into them for the first row. That was your first row of single crochet. And now this one that we're doing is our second row. So this is considered the second row or round. Okay. So a row is when you're working back and forth. So you work to the end of the row and you chain 1 or 2, and then you turn and you work around across the other way. And you go back and forth. With a round, most of the time there's no turn. So you just keep working in the circle. And it is, it's still a row. I mean, it's a series of connected crochet stitches, which essentially form a row, but it's called the round because, as you'll see at the end here, we're going to join the first and last stitches, and when we do that, it'll make the circle continue. It's what we did. Sorry, I'm going to pull that back because I kind of missed the stitch a bit. I don't like having pulls in my work, so I'm just going to go back in there, make sure it's a good stitch. Okay, so now I'm in my last couple stitches before the end. Okay, so that would be the 35th stitch right there. Right here you can see our nice stitch marker marking the last stitch. Okay, so keep the stitch marker there for now. Just work around it, insert your hook. You kind of have to push it out of the way a little bit. Insert your hook, pull your yarn through, then pull your yarn through both of the loops. Now, that is your 36th stitch. Now you need to connect it to the first stitch. Now, you could have marked that first stitch. If I was starting, I would have marked it, but I'll try to make you be able to see it here without getting the shadows in the way. So the first stitch is there. It's a little bit smaller maybe than the second. This is the first. So this was your chain 1 right here. That was the chain 1. That's your first stitch. So you want to join into that first stitch. So you're going to insert your hook into both top loops. I wrap my yarn around opposite. I put the yarn under the hook when I finish around because it makes a neater seam. And so I put the hook through the top 2 loops, wrap it under the hook, pull through, and then immediately pull through the hook, the loop that was on the hook. So we'll do that again. Okay, here is the last stitch. First stitch, go through the loops of the first stitch, wrap the yarn under, pull it through, immediately go through that hook. You have now joined the rows. Here's your first stitch, here's your last. Now what I would do is I would take this blue stitch marker that I used to mark that last stitch, and I would just put it here so what I've done is I moved it from the stitch it was in, and I'm marking now the joining stitch. So this was the first stitch of the round we just did, round 2. And now what you want to do is fasten it off. To fasten it off, you're going to hold this. You take your scissors, clip it about there. You want to have a tail. You've got a nice tail. Remember, I was using 2 strands for the red, and then just wrap the hook under the tail and pull it through the loop. Okay, we'll do that again. Put your hook, this is the ending loop, the last loop you have on your hook. Take the tail and pull it through that loop, and then you're going to pull it really tight, fasten it off, and now you have your round of 2 rows of single crochet. The first round was a foundation single crochet round. The second round was regular single crochets. You joined them at this point here. The stitch down here is joining the base of the first and last stitch, just to keep it nice and close together. This stitch here is marking the first stitch of your round, and that is going to be in this area that you're going to join the white yarn for your next round. This is the point where you finished off. This thing here, that is not a stitch, that is actually a knot. So let's count the stitches. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, and 36. So this is it for now. There it is. The next row or round, we're going to join the white yarn in this area here, and we're going to make the ear holes as we do our first round of white. Okay, I'll see you back here.